So, hey, this team was 3-9, but for anybody that was paying attention, they were close. Four top 10 losses by one score losses across the board. So there was talent on this team, and therefore talent lost that's going to be meaningful. I'm going to bypass Adrian Martinez. I think everybody's familiar with Casey Thompson to a certain extent, and we've covered that a number of times. So we may get to that at some point, but I want to break down some of the other losses here across the board and who may get the biggest opportunity to step in. So let's go to wide receiver. Samori Toure, unfortunately, just the one season in Nebraska because he proved to be worth the transfer, definitely there. So in looking at the rest of the wide receiver core, who do you think is capable of stepping up?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, we've been on here multiple times talking about, three guys who we see with uber talent: Alante Brown, Zavier, Omar Manning. Those three are going to have to be guys that step up this year. Someone's got to step up. I think the biggest concern for me with the receiving core, you got guys coming in, Decoldest, Crawford. People are excited about him, the freshman. You've got Trey Palmer, who's a guy who transferred out of LSU, had 400 yards receiving for them. So I think there's plenty of talent. You got a New Mexico State transfer as well. But it's who's going to step up and be the number one guy. And I think that's the biggest concern with the Huskers right now. But I think there's probably 6 or 7 guys that you could name that could be guys that are playing opening day for this Huskers squad. But it's just who's going to step up and fill that role that guys like Stanley Morgan, guys like Samori Toure have filled so well over the years. So I think the number one guy is the biggest concern, but I think there's plenty of talent in that receiving room.
Toure caught 45 balls last year for 900 yards. Do the math. 20 yards per reception. There's not a whole lot of guys around that pick up 20 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. And it only seemed near the end of the season that he was really getting comfortable with the offense, and more so than that they were finding him as much as they should have been. So he was actually producing bigger numbers down the stretch. Just check out the Ohio State game in particular and the Iowa game as well. We got Zach Reeder on the line talking Nebraska football. Please like the video, share these videos out on social media, because if you enjoy the content, others will as well. And subscribe right here, the voice of college football, Nebraska. Let's go to the defense, because at this time last year, we were talking about, hey, everybody's back except for like one impact player in the secondary. Well, it only makes sense that a year later, there's going to be a lot of losses. Will Honus decided to move into the transfer portal for a 7th season, did not play at all in 2021, of course, because he ripped up his knee. Spring practice, hopefully he gets back on the field for somebody else, but he had over 100+ tackles the 2 previous seasons combined, so that's a loss to a certain extent, but again, he didn't play in 21. So if we start, Zach, on the defensive front, just talk about the losses there and who may need to step up.
Yeah, I mean, the Huskers still trying to find their way, getting pass rushers. But as far as, this style of defense that they got, they like to have those 3 down linemen, run stuffers mostly up front. Guys like Ben Stilley, he's going to be gone. He was a guy who was in the program for 5 years. Damian Daniels, probably the most improved player Nebraska fans have seen through the years. Guy who came in a little bit, too heavy. He couldn't play. He didn't have the conditioning. Well, he got it right this year. He was a monster at the nose tackle position for the Huskers, but he's gone as well. Deontre Thomas decided to go test the NFL waters as well. So it's going to be a lot of change up there. But I think the change is good. Ty Robinson's a guy who played probably about 65% of the snaps. He's going to have to step up in a big way. You're going to have guys also like Nash Hutmaker, they call him the polar bear. He's got to step up. Really strong guy up front. He played a little bit sparingly this year, but he's going to have to be a force in the nose tackle position. He's big enough, definitely strong enough, but it's just going to have to come with being physical enough to play in the Big Ten. But then guys like Jordan Riley, he was a JUCO guy. He's going to have to step up. Big 6'6" guy, can knock down passes. He's going to have to be big at that DN position, that 3 tech. So we'll see where the Huskers go. I mean, there wasn't a ton. There's been some recruits, but mostly guys that have been in the system still there, but there's just not a lot of playing experience returning.
JoJo Doman, obviously he was very much the heart and soul of this team in a lot of ways. He's gone 71 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 picks. He was all over the place. So kind of talk about who's possibly going to step in there.
Yeah, I mean, the linebacker position is super interesting. You talked about Honus, but that's because Nebraska returns 2 guys in the middle that probably Honus is not going to find a spot. It's just tough, and I think he realized that because he loved Nebraska, but he just had to move on because of the guys returning. But Doman is that interesting position because he's that rover. He played a little bit of pass rusher off the edge. He played a little bit of safety, nickel corner, linebacker. So he truly did it all. And that's the hardest position to find on the defense, is the guy that can do it all, because you have to be able to do so many things well. So I'm curious to see who fills that position. If I had to guess right now, pre-spring ball, who's going to be that guy, I'm guessing Isaac Gifford. I know the staff is huge on the guy. He's just came out of his first year at Nebraska. Size-wise, I think he can fill that role. Athleticism, absolutely. I'm just basing this off the staff saying that they think this kid's going to be a star. They said it multiple times. So, I think he's a candidate to fill that spot. But the problem is you're filling a guy who did so much and was so experienced with a guy who's going to barely be a sophomore with no experience. So there's going to be some rough patches, but we'll see who fills that role. I think that would be my guess of who's going to fill it now. But it's just finding that guy that can do the jack of all trades.
Breaking down Nebraska football, of course, the Huskers and everybody else got those early NFL draft declarations that were due January 17th. And, of course, tons of seniors moving on from a veteran defense.